all good. Here it says, yeah.
Okay.
Recording the call. Yep, it's all good. How do I refer to you, by the way, throughout this?
It's fine to refer to me as Jasmine.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Anyway, hi guys. I'm going to do an interview with George Martin, who runs the channel Carnism Debunked. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. So yeah, I run the Carnism Debunked platform. I also have accounts on other social media platforms such as TikTok and all that. And yeah, Carnism Debunked includes like the website and the YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, been a vegan since 2013 now, and have tried to be active ever since.
That's quite cool. I've been vegan since 2010, which is quite odd.
Oh damn.
Yeah, it was before I had social media.
Wow, that is impressive. That's the year I finished uni, and I remember back at uni, I don't think I even heard veganism mentioned once. That's how much things have changed now.
Yeah, but it was quite funny because I remember when I first went vegan, there was only one packet of sausages in the shops. And that was it.
The Linda McCartney one?
Yeah, the Linda McCartney ones, that was it.
They're getting a bit outdated now. Yeah. They're not. They need to up their game, I think, Linda McCartney, because I think they're just behind the competition.
Yeah, but me and my boyfriend had a Beyond Burger from a restaurant in our local area, and that was so nice.
Oh yeah, top quality plant-based meats. That.
Okay, so I was going to ask you kind of what you thought of cancel culture within the vegan movement, because I thought that was a good starting point to go into.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be reflective of just what's happening in wider society. Unfortunately, that has too infected the animal rights movement, probably even to a greater extent.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
Just because there's this misconception being sort of spread around by intersectionals and stuff within the animal rights movement that veganism has to be this sort of radical far left kind of thing politically, which is absolutely not, and makes no sense for it to be. It's completely ineffective for it to be that way. And so what we're seeing as a result is that anyone who doesn't conform to these extremely narrow set of views, that it's nigh on impossible for 99% of people worldwide to conform to believe in every single one of the points they agree, because you have to agree unanimously across the board about every little thing. And then they'll try and cancel anyone who doesn't conform to that agenda.
What I find really bad now as well is it's not just people who don't conform to that agenda, it's people who associate with people who don't conform to that agenda. So like I have a friend on Facebook who he subscribed to my channel and he likes to listen to different points of view and different ideas around veganism. And he said that conservatives should be involved in his outreach in his local area, and he got banned from his outreach in his local area because he said that conservatives should be involved, despite the fact he's far left and into intersectionality.
Oh my god. Yeah, well, he wouldn't be welcomed by the so-called intersectional community. They would disown him and say, you can't be one of us because you accept that animal liberation can be represented by a diverse range on the political spectrum. And what's particularly worrying about this, what you've told me, is that group will for sure, I don't know what group this was, they will for sure let in people in their group with far more controversial views than that.
Yeah.
They'll let in people who support various sort of groups and stuff worldwide that would be considered oppressive by others. They'll support policies that people would consider to be oppressive and violent and bigoted in some way. Yet all this guy said was, yeah, I think people should be who tick this box on the ballot should be allowed. And suddenly he's chastised for it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, the other thing that I really don't get is once you start not allowing conservatives to come to your outreach, you basically you're not able to attract a certain amount of people to veganism. Because as someone who's vegan and pro-life, I don't know where you are on the political spectrum, but I'm able to make connections between veganism and being pro-life. Because I see, I see innocent life as being needed to be protected. So I can make comparisons between those things that people who are conservative will be interested in, but people who are on the left might not be.
This is the thing about the abortion debate, and this is where I find so many vegans start eating each other when we don't need to be. What people on both sides of the abortion debate are doing within the animal rights movement, more so on the pro-choice side, because that's what I think most vegans tend to be. They tend to be pro-choice. But what they tend to do, whether they're pro-choice or pro-life, is I'm seeing a lot of people saying, you can't be vegan if you're this, you can't be vegan if you're the other side. When really what we should be saying is, actually, it's good to have people on both sides of that debate, because that way you can make it so you can form a connection with people who also have that opinion, and you can say how it correlates with veganism, because whether we like it or not, right? Basically, veganism is a moral obligation, and you can consistently connect whatever. If you hold an ethical belief of some sort, it is possible to connect that somehow with veganism. Now that might not make sense to you as a pro-lifer thinking that about pro-choice, but a pro-choicer, would say that, well, no, I think that pro-choice does correlate to veganism because, and then they'll give a list of reasons. And it's good to have that. We want the animal rights movement to be big as possible. We don't want it so it's like, no, you can't do it if you believe about X.
I'm not going to go around saying that people aren't vegan if they're pro-choice at all. I would never do that. But I think the connections, especially with social media, because with social media, you're able to target specifically conservatives and try and get them interested in veganism. So you can specifically target them, and then you can talk about how being pro-life links into veganism.
That's the important thing. For you as a pro-lifer, that makes sense. For someone as a pro-choicer, it makes sense to be vegan as well, to be a pro-choicer. And therefore, you as a pro-lifer, it's great to have you, because you can talk to those people who are pro-life, who are conservative, whatever it is. And it's great also to have pro-choicers, because they can talk to the pro-choice crowd and say, why are you pro-choice and not vegan? Just as you can do with the pro-life. And we need that. That's exactly what we need.
Very true. It's just, I really hate cancel culture and the vegan movement so much. So the other thing I wanted to ask you was, how do we move forward? Because it seems that, vegans who are conservative can have their own outreach, they can have their own YouTube channels like I do, but I don't know, how are we gonna, what's the way forward as a movement? Have you got any ideas?
What we need to do is empower people to actually speak up, because the way that the extreme left works and what intersectionals do is it's very manipulative emotionally. It works on gaslighting. It works on emotional and mental manipulation. It's about divide and conquer. It's about making people feel shit so that they succumb to this ideology. And unfortunately, so many people are just weak-minded, and they'll just accept whatever labels are hurled at them, because they use a very common fallacy called Kafka trapping. Have you heard of Kafka trapping?
No.
It's basically a fallacy whereby denial of the very thing you're accused of means you are that thing, which is absolute bullshit. So what they're doing, you've seen these posts, right, on social media, Instagram or blah, 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 where it's like, if you get accused of being a racist, don't argue against it, accept it and learn from it. Otherwise, and it's like, no, we need to empower people to be told, if you get called a racist, fucking fight back against that shit. You're not a racist.
Yeah.
Absolutely destroy that ridiculous argument. Stand up for yourself, for goodness sake. Don't just go, oh, okay, yeah, you're right, because then this is how they recruit people to their cult. They basically insult people, tell them that if you even challenge that insult, you're being problematic. And then you have to therefore take it on board, and this is how it works. So you ask me, what's the next step? What do we do? you and I are doing that already. We're doing what I think is the next step, is to actually, stop succumbing to this, actually stand up for yourself. And this is what everyone needs to be doing.
Mm. Okay, that's a pretty good idea. Yeah, I think it's a good idea to stand up for yourself and what you think. I think one of the issues that I really don't get with the left is that they seem to ostracize conservatives, but I don't think that that's effective, because it makes the vegan outreach more radically left wing, and it ends up with problems like my Jewish friend was beaten up, and he's conservative, by some Antifa members. It ends up with radical left extremism potentially, and then you're making the right more radically right wing as well, because you end up with the right not listening to any other opinions. So it doesn't work in that respect, and then it doesn't work in terms of the animals anyway, because one of the issues is that conservatives have a lower retention rate than left-wing vegans. And one of the issues with vegan retention rate is the fact that, how do I say this? You have a lower retention rate if you don't have a vegan community.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing. And so by ostracizing left-wing vegans, you're removing them from veganism, and you're harming animals, but you're also making them more radically right-wing and the vegan movement more radically left-wing. It doesn't, for me, it's not really morally consistent.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's, if anything, just destroying their two goals, which is to build what they consider to be an inclusive and large movement, right? So they're not doing that. And they want to, outside of that, defeat the right when it comes to politics. And all they're doing is actually building a more radical right wing.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
they're ultimately failing in their aims. And what's particularly ridiculous about this is that the vast, 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 vast majority of the world is what we would consider in the West to be conservative. And when I say conservative, I'm not talking like Boris Johnson or Donald Trump here. I'm talking way more extreme right. I'm talking like people who make Boris Johnson and Donald Trump look like Bernie Sanders or AOC. They make them look like that. Because if you go to the Middle East or Africa or Asia and you start, saying your standard intersectional sound bites there about smash the patriarchy and blah, 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 they'll have the noose in hand before you can even contest it. So it's insane to me that they want to. It's so Western centric what they're trying to do. They're all about. They talk about how they love appreciating other cultures and how veganism shouldn't be this white Western thing. They're making it the most white Western movement possible.
That's true. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like veganism, it can connect to anything though. So I don't know why they don't try and form those connections with people, because it's like if we think about our traditional diet in England, our traditional diet was a lot more plant-based than it is now. Like my nan, she often cooks me a vegetable stew, and that was a very traditional meal that she used to eat growing up. And one of the issues is the fact that we're moving, as we become more and more wealthy, we're moving away from a more traditional British diet to a diet that's much more heavy in processed food, much more heavy in meat, and people are doing a lot less exercise as well. It's just generally it's kind of worse for society.
Yeah, I mean, if you want my opinion on the health side of things, I don't think the health message is that important to push. I think we should let people just make up their own decisions about whether they want to eat whole foods or whether they want to eat junk foods. So long as if people want to, my problem is not the people just harming themselves, but the people harming animals in the process. As long as you don't harm animals, you can harm yourself all you want. I don't care. I think it was Gary Yourofsky who put it brilliantly. He said, you can drink soda and eat Oreos and donuts and stuff all you want. Be my guest. I'm not the health police. But it's not your right to harm somebody else in the process of harming yourself. So I am the ethics police, he said. This is what I love about Gary.
That's pretty cool. I don't know. I do feel like health is kind of important because you want people to stay vegan. So you don't want people to, and they need to get all of the nutrients they need on a vegan diet in order to stay vegan. So you want to make sure that they're getting relatively healthy or relatively nutritious food in order to keep them on the right track.
Yeah, so I half agree with what you say there. We absolutely do need to make the arguments clear that everyone can be vegan. It is perfectly possible to thrive, not just survive, to absolutely thrive on a plant-based diet. However, the truth is, the vast majority of people don't care about their health. It's actually a bit. I mean, think about it. When people say to you stuff like, "Oh, where do you get your protein? Where do you get your calcium?" What's that person's diet? Are they eating healthy? No, they're going off down McDonald's. They had a Chinese takeaway last night. They don't care about that shit. So, at the same time, we need to also, I think, ensure that loads of delicious vegan junk is available because you also get weak-minded people who will not be vegan if all we're eating is just the healthy stuff. They also want the donuts, they want the vegan pizza, they want the burgers and that kind of stuff. But this is the thing. We don't even need to think about it that much because veganism offers all of that. Any kind of food you want, we've got you covered. If you want to be a whole foods, plant-based vegan who really cares about reversing their heart disease and keeping their cancer rates low, boom, we've got you covered. If you want to be, an overweight vegan who doesn't like exercise too much and just loves eating delicious junk like donuts and burgers and stuff, again, we've got you covered. Just for goodness sake, just stop harming the animals.
It's true. What do you think about the vegan teacher? I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, there's something really bad going. I mean, I think it was only a few days after a petition calling for her removal. And TikTok, by the way, is a very toxic and anti-vegan environment. What's the good thing about TikTok is that you don't actually get into arguments on there with intersectionals. It's actually, you can do what your focus was and actually argue with non-vegans about veganism. It's great. It's like you post an animal rights video and instead of a conversation about gender and racism or whatever it is, you're actually arguing about animal rights. It's fucking fantastic. But the trouble is, it's 99% people on there who just don't want to listen. They're just trolls. They really don't want to listen. And anything that they see as a threat to their way of life, and they see as truthful, and the truth is too hard to take, they'll try and shut it down, and they will report it to TikTok, and TikTok doesn't even check the reports properly. The reason I know this is because I have had dozens of videos taken down due to them being reported, and every single appeal I did was successful. So that means TikTok doesn't check a single video that gets reported. They just go, yeah, we better take their word for it. We don't have time, whatever. They might not even be good English speakers or something. I know it's a Chinese company. I don't know how many staff they've got based in the US or whatever. And so they might just be like, yeah, we haven't got the time to check whether this video violates it or not. Let's just assume that it does because loads of people have reported it. And then you have to submit a review. And yeah, I think this is what's happening with that vegan teacher. It's just she's had so many reports and stuff unfairly when she's not done anything wrong. And yeah, she's been censored as a result of that. And it's a real shame. Whether you like her or not, whether you find any of her videos a bit cringy or not, whatever it is, her account had 1.7 million follows. She was doing something right. They basically just cancelled probably the biggest, most famous pro-animal rights individual account on social media. Because I know you have things on Facebook like Peter and stuff like that, who I think probably have 1 million followers and stuff like that. But as an actual individual, I think that vegan teacher was probably the most followed one.
I mean, I read an article where she was told that she was pushing her views on other people, and I was thinking that's a bit ridiculous because they don't have to watch her videos if they don't want to.
Exactly. It's just, yeah, it's just, anti-vegan snowflakes essentially just trying to censor anything that they can't handle. What's annoying me is so many vegans are trying to kind of like legitimize this in some way, and it's like I don't think they understand just how petty the mob is on
Mm,
TikTok. I think too many vegans are being apologists and actually kind of legitimize her ban in some way and going, oh well,
yeah.
she must have done something wrong. It's like, but she genuinely didn't. It's just if and I think a lot of this is coming from people that don't even have TikTok and don't know what the environment is like on there. But I'm telling you now, if you have an animal rights account on TikTok, you will, it's not even a question, you will get videos removed and you'll have to appeal them.
Mm. I mean, I heard. I mean, I did hear that she said something. Well, I wouldn't consider this homophobic or anything, but she said it was more special to come out as a vegan than, sorry, to come out as a vegan and animal rights activist than it was to come out as gay. And I thought that was, I mean, she didn't mean like it was selfish. She just meant that veganism is about more than yourself, and being gay is not about more than yourself. That's what she was trying to say.
Well, I
And I
know,
felt like it
yeah.
was just a bit ridiculous, really.
Well, I know that wouldn't have been the reason for her ban.
Okay.
So again, this is just speculation from other people. She's probably made the odd controversial comment here or there,
Mm,
but TikTok isn't taking that into account. They've got too much to focus on. Um, I think it's for other reasons that they've probably banned her account. But that just specific comment, there's far more controversial stuff than that on TikTok. There's genuinely homophobic accounts on TikTok. Like I was scrolling through my news feed yesterday, from my TikTok feed, and there was one video. It was just like list of reasons gay people should have rights, and then the video just ends and says, "Thank you, that is all." Like, and that video hasn't been taken down as far as I know.
yeah, yeah.
And so again, it's that the outrage mob will only the anti-vegan outrage mob will only take down who they want to take down, and they'll find something to pick out that person for. So the people who
Mm,
would scroll by that video from a non-vegan and not say anything, as soon as they hear a vegan say that, they'll be like, aha. And then they'll try and look through their account for other stuff they can find to report, and they'll just end up mass reporting them.
mm.
I don't think TikTok even know why they've deleted that vegan teacher. I think they probably just bowed to pressure, to be honest. As I said, they don't check anything. They don't check the reports.
Mm. Well, I don't know. I feel like it's better for people to be able to say controversial things online and on TikTok and on social media,
Mm.
because that's a way that we can challenge controversial thoughts and controversial feelings towards. So, for example, you could do someone who's gay could do a reaction video to that video why gay people should have rights, and it was nothing. Do you
Yeah,
see what I mean?
100%.
Whereas
Yeah.
if that guy was on somewhere like BitChute, then he would be less prone to criticism. If he was on somewhere like some other site for homophobes, then he'd be less prone to criticism there.
Yeah, they're just pushing these ideologies sort of deeper, sort of I say underground, but it's not even underground. It's just sort of in a place where people can sort of discuss them unchallenged.
Yeah, yeah,
Where it's better to just have an environment where we're all able to say things that might offend each other. Because put it this way, every single person on this planet has offensive views. There's not a single
yeah. It's
person
true.
that has a view that wouldn't offend someone. So what happens when you start restricting freedom of speech online is you're just left with this very sort of narrow thing, as and it will just conform to only one side's view. Um,
Yeah.
and that's just bad in many, many ways.
Mm. I remember watching a documentary, and it was about how a left wing guy got radicalized. And basically, what happened was he went on Facebook, and he had like left wing friends, and he was doing like anti-Trump memes. Then his memes got more violent, and he was taken off Facebook, and he went on to like a left wing site. And then he continued having these like really violent memes about Trump, and then he ended up trying to shoot Trump at a Trump rally.
I
So
think I
it
know this
became,
kid. Yeah.
yeah, it became more and more and more radicalized because he was only talking to people with the same beliefs as him. It was
That's a great example to use. Yeah. Whereas if
Yeah.
his views were sort of more out in the open and stuff, they could have been challenged.
Mm.
But they probably wouldn't want that. I think the radical left wanted him to do that, right? So maybe I'm talking to a brick wall here.
Yeah, maybe. Um, what else is I going to ask you about? So do you I don't know what else I was going to ask you. Oh, I was going to ask you about AD. What kind of happened with AD?
Yeah, so I'll go briefly into what happened. I do have a video on this where I can talk about this in more detail because it's a fairly long story if I want to give my full side of things. But back last year during the whole bandwagon that happened in June,
Mm,
basically it all started when I made a politically neutral comment from the AV page. So I was working for AV along with Gemma, who was also fired along with me, and basically, someone was doing the typical. They were doing the intersectionals were all messaging the animal rights pages, weren't they? Asking them to basically bend the knee to their sort of cause, and I was just trying to keep it politically neutral. So one comment said something like, "Come on, AV, it's not a political statement for you to make just to condemn the ongoing systemic oppression that's happening in the USA," or something like that. And I just responded rightly, politically neutrally, saying something like, yes, that would be political, because many people believe that there is no systemic oppression in Western countries and
mm,
there's media bias. So don't get us to pick a side on this. Our focus is just animal rights. We don't get into the whole left right politics bullshit. And then the next day, lo and behold, Asal has made this apology from the page saying that we do hold actually, we're so sorry this comment was made, and we do believe systemic oppression exists, and we truly apologize for that, which was ridiculous. And
mm.
then after a few meetings with Paul and Asal, both myself and Gemma were completely unfairly fired from the organization because Gemma also believes this. And I was told some other kind of weird, unclear reasons, such as me being a misanthrope violated their whatever it is, their standards or whatever it is. I can't even remember what they were called now. But in any case, that's pretty much the short story. It was completely ridiculous.
Mm.
So AV, I don't consider a politically neutral organization anymore. They do veer left, whether they like to admit that or not. I guess they are a semi-intersectional organization now, i.e., they're not actually fully intersectional, but they do somewhat police their staff members' political views. They do have a problem if you're a staff member and you have a certain view that doesn't align with the founders. And yeah, for anyone watching, if you want to see the full story on this, go to
I'll
my
just link it down
yeah,
below.
link that below.
Okay. Well, it's kind of interesting with AB because it seems like they're a halfway house. So they get rid of conservatives or people with different views, and then they, they want to they're not completely intersectional either. So it seems
Yeah.
like the radical left don't like them, and then
So many people theorize this, that me and Gemma's sacking could have been just them like bowing to pressure and that kind of thing.
mm,
I mean, there's absolutely things Paul and Asal said that don't seem to conform to previous stuff they said. Like Paul and Asal were telling me and stuff, I need to have more emotional IQ and stuff like that, and that we need to we need to show more warmth for these issues and take sort of the emotional side of things into account. But then Asal was famous for saying a few years ago, I think it was in Berlin, that we need to put human emotions aside in the animal liberation movement. So it's just complete contradiction. It was just it felt very sort of fake and contrived, and um yeah, it completely shattered what AV was previously. It's AV
mm.
is now just a different organization than what it claims to be as a result of this.
One of the other things I don't really get is that it seems like the left want you to add particular human rights issues to animal rights for some reason. So quite a few years ago, it was gay marriage being added to animal rights. Now it was Black Lives Matter. But then, like, it's not every single human issue. So it's not like slavery in certain countries. It's not the concentration camps that they've got for Muslims in China. And if you made it all about that, human rights issues as well as animal rights issues, it would deflect from the message anyway.
Well,
because
yeah, and this is just one of the particularly inconsistent things that was happening last year, is that the entitlement to this one issue, they were messaging all the pages, why aren't you speaking about this one incident that happened in this one country, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, why is it some kind of obligation to speak about that, but they're not the Uyghur Muslims in the concentration camps, the ongoing war in the Central African Republic, the slaves building the stadiums for the World Cup in Qatar, like countries that a lot of these, you know, US bubble intersectionals, US coastal city bubble have never even heard of. I bet a lot of them haven't even heard of Qatar. And it's just, there's a lot of US centricism as well. It's just this idea that if something happens in the USA, everyone around the world needs to speak about that issue. Well, what, you know, why are you messaging pages in Belgium asking them to speak about something that happened in Minnesota? Has a Belgian ever messaged you and said, can you please speak about the, you know, the rape that happened in Antwerp last night or something? If no, then why are you messaging a page in Belgium asking them to speak about that and calling them a bigot if they don't speak about it? Again, where was your post or video about the rape that happened in Antwerp last night? Oh, another city they've probably never even heard of, in a country they might not have even heard of. It's just disgusting, to be honest.
Yeah, but also, like, if an animal rights page started talking constantly about human rights violations in all around the world, it wouldn't be an animal rights page anymore. It would be a human rights and animal rights page.
And that's exactly what the intersectionals want, except, as you say, it wouldn't make sense for them to do that anyway, because once again, they're only speaking about these very specific US-centric issues that are not relevant to the rest of the world, where there's serious oppression going on, where there's real oppression going on, like in China and Pakistan and all these places. Yeah, it's just crazy that they want to, they turn just the, I think it was, I read the book, The Madness of Crowds by Douglas Murray recently, and he mentioned something in it about called George and the Dragon syndrome, which is when George has slayed the big massive dragon. It's like he almost gets bored that the big dragon has been slayed, so he just goes around looking for these like tiny dragons to slay to satisfy his urges. And this is what Western intersectionals do. They'll find like an offensive TV advert, and that's the thing everyone has to complain about. But then they just don't say anything about the stuff going on in China and the Central African Republic.
Very true. Okay, well, I think I've finished asking my questions. I don't think I've got any more to ask you, but thank you for coming on my channel. It's really nice to hear you and speak to you.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, and I really appreciate you know, your bravery in setting up your channel and stuff like that, because not enough vegans do speak out about this kind of stuff, and it's really good to see vegans such as yourself actually stand up for yourself, set up a channel where you are talking about these issues that, you know, that people get cancelled for. And yeah, I completely admire your bravery for that. And yeah, I hope we can see more vegans do that kind of thing.
Okay, well, thank you for speaking to me. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.